Hi everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about Far Away, and this is put out by Cherry Picked Games. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can see our videos as they come out.
Alright, you guys, there's just a million components to this game. I think the best way to do it is just to dive right into it. I'm going to try to make this as short as possible. Let's see if I can succeed. So here's our initial setup for Far Away. Basically what's happening is we work for a corporation who is, exploring the galaxy, which is fantastic, except for they are keeping all the profits for themselves, trying to minimize expenses in every way they can, even to the detriment of our own health. So in this case, they just basically crashed our ship into this planet, and now we have to fend for ourselves and accomplish whatever goal they have for us this particular mission. So here we are at our crash site. Basically what's going to happen is we have, to prepare this crash site by the end of the game, it requires some resources, but also here's our little people here that's going to roam around the board. We're also going to explore all the surrounding hexes here, and you do that by rolling this dice. It's going to tell you what to do. So let's say maybe we drop a resource cube on a spot. Maybe we drop one over here. There's other things that you're going to come across. There's going to be, let's say we stumble across a resource landmark. It's going to be a spot where we can go to get more resources. Or we might even come across, some anomalies. When we go across anomalies, you draw from this deck, and you're going to maybe find perhaps an animal. So in this case, we found a den creature. So we have wandering creatures and we have den creatures. They operate a little differently, but basically you're going to draw the top card off the deck, and you are going to find the tokens that match that. There are a ton of different animals, and there's a ton of different tokens all through here. So you have to sift through and find whichever animal is the one that you were working on, and basically you're going to put some of those tiles out there. Every creature has different attributes, and I'll kind of go over why that's important later on. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to put one of those tiles on the board, and then now you're ready to start the game. This is a scenario-based or mission-based game, so you're going to go through 10 different missions, or 11 if you include the kind of the prelude game. But each mission is going to have its own parameters, things you have to accomplish. And a lot of them have contingency plans as well, kind of additional side missions that you can go on. But all of them are going to involve you kind of moving your guy along and exploring. So when you explore, you get to a new tile. You're going to roll out die and see what happens. Again, it could be a lot of different things. It could be more anomalies, which may have animals or ruins of a building you find, or even some old astronauts from before. A whole bunch of different things can happen with that die. You're going to need to collect resources in order to fulfill the mission's objectives. Maybe build some buildings. I know I would spoil too much to say that in the beginning of the game you're trying to build satellites to be able to communicate back with the home office, as it were. But you're trying to build these different buildings or accomplish whatever the mission has set out for you. This is a cooperative game, but one of the things about it that's unique is you cannot talk in this game unless your little pieces are on the same board. Again, we're really cheap and we cannot afford to have two-way communication. So you want to be in the same spot. You also have some tracks on your little personal board, like loneliness and hunger. And loneliness kind of creeps up and up and up, but whenever you get to the same tile, you have to erase all of your loneliness. You get 3 actions per turn each, and then it's going to become the creature's turn. Like I mentioned, all the creatures have their own kind of attributes going on, but once you put that out there, and you kind of do whatever it says, you kind of role play, as it were, each animal. So this little guy, for instance, what we know about him is he's a small animal. He's a den animal. He likes to stay where he's at. He's not aggressive, so he's probably not going to go after where we're at, but also he's opportunistic. He's going to try to find food wherever he can, and maybe that involves him eating some of the plants that we were planning on eating for ourselves. We also have the choice to fight some of these creatures as well, or try to scare them off. That's a way to get some meat, or get some of the bigger, scarier predators out of our way so we can continue doing what we're trying to do, collect resources, all that kinds of things. There are many ways to lose this game, such as running out of food or loneliness. The only way to win the game, though, is to work together with your partner, oftentimes in silence, in order to complete the mission. After you've completed it, then you're going to go through and you go through the next mission. These are long scenarios, so it's probably going to be, one at a time. You're not going to do 2 or 3 of these in a night unless you have a long night to work with. But each mission is going to last approximately maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours each time you play. Some can go even longer, maybe like 2.5 hours. Each new mission is going to introduce a whole bunch of new mission cards, some specific anomalies or maybe injuries or different things that can happen to you. So you basically just have to follow the mission book and see which cards you need, and each setup's going to be different that way as well. But if you ever wanted to figure out how to survive on a shoestring budget in space, this is the training grounds that you need. All right, so obviously there's a ton that we didn't talk about,
Yes.
but like I said, I wanted to keep that explanation as short as possible so you can explore it still as you're going through these 8 missions. I think I might have said 10 earlier, but it's 8 missions plus the introductory scenario. So much to explore, and I didn't want to spoil anything for you.
Speaking of exploring, the exploration in this game was pretty fun. Of when you start and you go to a new tile and you have to roll to decide what's going there or what kind of, like, if it's going to produce anything, if there's going to be a creature that's going to come there, and how when you first start the game and you place all those tiles there and you just kind of decide what they are from the very beginning. And so it was fun to branch out and just kind of explore things, and as it grew and how weird it got, but it was fun to do that.
I think that the theme of this game was really, really strong in terms of everything that you touched, every card, every part of the the rule book, the box itself, even it lended itself to this kind of tongue-in-cheek, this corporation who's sending you into space.
Yeah.
That is kind of leaving you to die.
Because they're cheap.
Yeah, and also everything like the dice. There was an acronym for what. So you roll the, I can't remember, it's dodecahedron, that's not wrong, but it's some kind of integer, numerical, something, it's dice. And then, the hex tiles, they were like heuristical, gosh, I'm saying them all wrong, xenoterology, but it was just this really funny thing, right? It was like all the, we were using hex tiles and dice, but they called them that, and it made it somehow thematically work within the game. Everything was just super tongue-in-cheek, and like I said, the rule book was just littered with all that kind of flavor text.
Yeah, I mean, the box gives it away. Far away. Boldly go where no one has returned from yet.
That's exactly what we're doing. Yeah.
But that's everywhere in the game, just like the little things like that. So it was fun to see that, and just like, and I mean, come on, we all have either known somebody or personally worked for a company that cares nothing about you. And that was represented in this game. We thought the artwork was kind of fun in this game. Just, I mean, the box is fun, and the little...
Yeah, that kind of old school sci-fi vibe.
Yeah, so that was fun. And then the animals had this kind of like, what do you call it? Like that Darwin sketching art style?
Yeah, when you explore and you're first observing an animal for the first time in the wild and you sketch it out or whatever. It had that kind of style to it.
Yeah.
And those creatures... it was kind of cool to see how they all had different abilities that they could do, but I will say that when you're first starting off playing as them, and we as the players also are in charge of playing as the creatures, and it started off kind of interesting, and like, okay, well, this makes sense, but it got to the point later on in the game where there was several different species of both, these den animals and these wandering creatures. Yeah. And it got a little bit, I don't know, frustrating and convoluted. You had to kind of make all these decisions. Yeah. So you take your actions, you both get 3 actions, and then the creatures take over and do their turns. It got to the point later on in the game where it's like, you're spending 2/3 of the time moving the creatures. You boom, bing, boom. We do our actions, move around, pick some stuff up, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so what does this guy do again? Okay, he moves over here, he eats some stuff. They,
at least it had that die, so if you didn't know where a creature should move, you could always just, like, relegate it to that. If you just didn't want to think about that, you could just be like, you are going there. And
then also when you develop a new animal or a new creature, you had to sift through a huge bag full, or a ton of these little bags, and because they're all the same color, the kind of sketch that you mentioned, you had to really kind of pick each one up and search to make sure it was the right one.
I mean, that just goes to show how much stuff is in this game. Though.
Right?
There's
this thing is an absolute brick. It's busting at the seams. I have to kind of keep it shut.
It was fun, like Ryan said, like how you did the animals at first, though. That was fun when you're first rolling for them and you first put them out there and you fill up that board. I did enjoy that when it was first starting, but like Ryan said, at the end, it just kind of was like, where is all these stuff? And then when you're separated on the board, you can't talk. And so that's, that was really fun for us at first to just kind of like, you just take your turns, you do everything, and then you're just like, but I need to talk to you. I need to
Sometimes you just like zip across the board just so you can
okay, we need
heal your loneliness.
We need to figure out what's heal your loneliness. We need to figure out what's happening right now, and we just need to talk to each other because there's like 4 things that we need to build, and only 1 supply has come out, and should we just do everything and build any of these other things to get us some stuff and
destroy the ruins for resources, or should we?
Yeah.
I thought that was cool too, but also like you said, it got challenging.
Yeah.
I think that the missions on this were really, really interesting. They got increasingly more challenging and more involved, and needed more resources in order to progress. So there is a ton of replayability, because you're not going to win those later missions on the first time.
No.
You're going to have to play it several times. And this is, these are long games, hour and a half minimum, probably more like 2 to 2.5 hours once you get into the more advanced ones. And so there's a lot of game here.
A lot of game.
Between a lot of bits and a lot of gameplay.
Yeah, there's a lot of game in here. You will get, there's a ton of bits, like Ryan just said. We're saying the same thing over and over again, but there is a ton of bits, and the gameplay is so long that, if you were to play through all of the scenarios and do all of that,
you're getting your money's worth.
Exactly.
100%
there's
from a
just
man-hour standpoint.
There's just so much game in this.
You guys, that is our thoughts on Far Away. It's a lot of fun, but at the same time, there's a whole lot going on. Don't step into this game lightly.
Well, thank you so much for watching. You can also follow us on all the places. You can find us on Facebook under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. You can find us on Instagram under Ryan and Bethany. And you can also find us on Twitter under Ryan and Bethany 1.
Everybody, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.